Good evening. This is the news at 6, your daily roundup of all the stories that have been breaking through the day that we'll be getting you an update on. And the big stories that happened today, of course, are the finance minister's statement in Davos, where he's outlined the economic reforms. Said they're already in place, they're happening across India. So asking the global investor to come and invest in India. We'll be also talking about the Delhi elections, of course. This time the Congress has released its manifesto, and it says it's not just about promises, but it's about exposing the other side. So we'll be talking about that as well, and a whole lot more over the next half hour. But first, the headlines we're tracking right now. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley assures global investors on ongoing reforms, promises to rationalize subsidies and rebuild credibility on taxation. Ahead of US President Barack Obama's visit to India, contact group meets for the third time to clear hurdles on civil nuclear deal to iron out differences over nuclear liability. Congress releases its election manifesto in Delhi, says not just promises but also exposes the false claims of its rivals. In Bihar's Ara district, a woman triggers crude bomb blast in a court premises, leaves 2 people dead and 17 injured. Second seeded Roger Federer's out of the Australian Open, suffers shock defeat at the hands of Italian Andrea Sippi. Well, a top story right now. The ongoing economic reforms in the country are much more than the Big Bang. This is what the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley had to say as a pitch to attract global investors as he outlined the government's economic vision at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. And as budget season draws closer, he promised a lot more but asked to simmer down on expectations from the budget itself. Wooing global investors, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley made strong promises on rationalizing subsidies on kerosene and cooking gas, rebuilding credibility of taxation structure, and calling a joint session of Parliament to get the insurance bill passed if it's not cleared in the coming session. Laying out the fiscal roadmap ahead of his first full-fledged budget, he sought to assure investors at the ongoing World Economic Forum that subsidies will not be completely eliminated but only rationalized to cut expenditure.
Well, I think our real potential is 9% plus. And therefore, we'd like to take India in that direction. We've had problems and challenges. We went below 5%, which by Indian standards is a very disappointing rate. Hopefully, we'll do a little better this year. Next year, I think, is going to be significantly better. And if we can continue to take decisions at the pace we are and eventually attract investment into India, I think then India is going to move much faster. And achieving our real potential will then appear to be more realistic.
Racing against time to convert various ordinances into law in the budget session, Jaitley expressed confidence that the insurance bill will be passed in the Rajya Sabha because the Congress is also in favour. Jaitley said, if it is not approved, we will go for a joint session of Parliament. If it is delayed beyond 6 months, we will go for a joint session where we will have a majority. Apparently referring to the controversial retrospective taxation of the previous government that has spooked global investors, Jaitley said one major challenge was to rebuild credibility of the Indian taxation structure. The finance minister also made it clear that he was against high taxes and believed in giving more money into the hands of the consumers. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Now, India and the United States of America are facing stumbling blocks in an effort to find a breakthrough in the nuclear deal. 2 days ahead of Obama's visit to India, talks in London have not made headway on key hurdles. Nuclear liability is one of the key issues that remain a sticking point. The question, though, is whether the gaps can be bridged when Obama meets Prime Minister Modi on Sunday.
India and the US are trying to narrow differences on nuclear trade ahead of President Barack Obama's visit this week. On Thursday, a contact group set up by Obama and Prime Minister Narendra Modi met for a second day in London to hammer out an accord. But there are some sticking points that are yet to be ironed out. One of the major hurdles is the nuclear liability issue. India's liability law holds the suppliers directly liable in case of a nuclear accident. The US wants India to follow global norms under which the primary liability is with the operator. But India has ruled out any changes to its law, which was written under the shadow of the Bhopal gas disaster. To find a way around it, the US has offered that it will monitor material or equipment supplied by a third party and used in reactors built by them. But India is unlikely to compromise its nuclear sovereignty. All eyes are now on Obama and Modi with the hope that the bilateral meeting between the two will iron out all differences.
This is the third time that the contact group that was set up by Prime Minister and President Obama is meeting in the last 4 months. In fact, it is the third time they are meeting in approximately 45 days or so. So, you can see the element of effort that is going into discussions on the nuclear issue.
We are sure that with the kind of commitment both the Indian government and the US dispensation has shown towards the civil nuclear deal, definitely there would be a breakthrough in the days to come.
The Indo-US nuclear deal was worked out during the UPA 1 government in 2008, but the implementation has been stalled over the tough provisions in India's Civil Nuclear Liability Act. It remains to be seen if the two countries reach a settlement on the issue during Obama's visit. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
News from politics in Delhi now. The Congress party released its manifesto for the assembly elections in Delhi. In fact, the manifesto is in two parts. The second part, which will be released on Saturday. Now, the manifesto was released by Delhi Congress chief Arvinder Singh Lovely. While releasing the manifesto, he said his party's manifesto is different from that of the BJP or the Aam Aadmi Party. It promises electricity at ₹1.50 per unit. The manifesto says that all government hospitals will have diagnostic centres and MRI centres. And the fourth phase of the metro will be given will give concessional rates to students. It's also promised a hike in old age and widow pension to 2,000 rupees.
आम आदमी पार्टी एक ऐसी एप्लीकेशन बनाएगी जिसके अंदर मैं बटन दबाऊंगी और 5 मिनट में पुलिस आ जाएगी। तो बटन दबाए और 5 मिनट में पुलिस आ जाए, ये कैसे मुख्यमंत्री दिल्ली का सुनिश्चित कर सकता है? वो अगर फोन का बटन दबाए और एक अगर पुलिस का कांस्टेबल भी बुलाना चाहे तो पुलिस का कांस्टेबल भी ऊपर से पूछेगा तब उसके पास में आएगा। जरूरी नहीं कि पुलिस का कांस्टेबल भी दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री के पास में आए। तो इस तरीके के वायदे करने चाहिए जो कि कल को जिसको डिलीवर किया जा सके।
And our correspondent Vishal Daya has been covering all the developments that have been happening as far as the politics of Delhi is concerned, and also as far as what the Congress had to say today, Vishal. And interestingly enough, the Congress is a real strategy in these elections is not just the promises that it is making, but pointing fingers at the other side. And this really wasn't usually what the Congress has been doing, but the booklet that it came out with last week, the U-turn booklet, where Ajay Makin came out with, its manifesto being dedicated to finding the faults in the others on the other side.
Well, the Congress's entire game of, pointing fingers at the other two players is definitely because of the very fact that Congress, which ruled the city-state for 15 years continuously, has now been reduced to the third position. And it seems that, they are just trying to ensure that they do not end up as being also ran a kind of contestant in these elections as it happened, just around a year back. As far as manifesto is concerned, Nishan, very few significant points out here about manifesto is that in this particular manifesto, there is one specific point which the Congress party is talking about, that's about power. Now, about, bringing down the power tariffs is something which has been topmost on the agenda of these three major political parties in Delhi. That's Aam Aadmi Party, BJP and Congress. This is resultant of the fact that Aam Aadmi Party, when it was in power for 49 days, brought down the power tariff for a certain segment. Now, there is a contradiction out out here, because in an interview to us just around 4 to 5 days back, Congress's face in Delhi elections, Ajay Makan clearly pointed out that the solution to the issue of power tariff, high power tariffs in Delhi is not giving out subsidies, but rather the solution lies with ensuring that the Electricity Regulatory Commission, that's the DERC, functions smoothly and also keeps a check on all the power companies. But in their manifesto today, very interestingly, they are also offering subsidies. They are also offering to give 50% off on the power bills above 200 units, and for domestic consumers till 200 units it will be 1.5 rupees. So obviously there is a stark difference between what the manifesto says and what the leaders otherwise are saying. But yes, as far as other promises are concerned, more so less they deal with the local issues. Right. Congress, being the national party, also realizes the fact that Delhi is not a full does not have a complete statehood as of now, and that is something which is again missing in the first part of their manifesto. Also, very interestingly, this, I guess, is happening for the first time, that a political party, and that too a national political party, is going to come out with its manifesto in two different segments. That is, we will have to wait for 2 more days to try and see as to whether the issue of statehood and several other issues which the party leaders have been vocal about in the past, will those be addressed in the second half of manifesto 2 days later.
All right, we'll leave it over there. Thanks very much, Vishal Daya, who's been keeping a track of all those developments happening as far as politics in Delhi is concerned. And in fact, staying with Delhi, Aam Aadmi Party chief Arvind Kejriwal has replied to a notice on the Model Code violation by the Election Commission. He submitted his response to the notice on a complaint by the BJP over his claims that Delhi BJP chief Satish Upadhyay has a nexus with power discoms in the national capital. The Election Commission had issued a notice after Upadhyay filed a complaint against Kejriwal for making false, baseless and unverified allegations against him. Denying all charges, Kejriwal wrote that the complaint was a ploy to divert attention. However, Upadhyay threatened more action against Kejriwal. And the war of words between the Aam Aadmi Party and Kiran Bedi ahead of the Delhi Assembly polls is getting murkier with each passing day. While the AAP accuses Kiran Bedi of being a BJP sympathizer from the beginning, the BJP has questioned Kejriwal's proximity to the Congress. On Thursday, Aam Aadmi Party leader Kumar Vishwas accused Kiran Bedi of being a BJP sympathizer from the India Against Corruption days. In a television chat show, Vishwas claimed that Kiran Bedi had asked Arvind Kejriwal to go soft on the BJP during the anti-corruption movement. Bedi, however, refused to react to the allegations levelled by Vishwas.
उसमें कुछ ऐसे लोग थे जो चाहते थे कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी पर हमला कम किया जाए, उसके भ्रष्टाचार को अभी छोड़ा जाए, और वो लगातार आपने देखा है कि आंदोलन समाप्त होने के बाद किरण बेदी लगातार ये कहती रही हैं, पॉलिटिक्स में जो है लेसर इविल को चुना जाता है।
उसी का स्टेटमेंट का जवाब देती हूँ जिस स्टेटमेंट की मैं कदर करती हूँ।
पॉलिटिकल वजह से कोई भी उन पर किसी तरह की डाउट संदेह जता रहा है, तो एक तरह से वो इंडिया अगेंस्ट करप्शन के मूवमेंट पर भी संदेह जता रहा है।
Was Arvind Kejriwal a Congress sympathizer working in India against corruption? I think before leveling absurd charges against Dr. Kiran Bedi, Kejriwal needs to explain his own position.
All right, we'll slip into a very quick break right now, but coming up on the other side, Saudi Arabia has seen the death of its king. The King Abdullah has died, but his brother Salman has become the new king. We'll talk about that on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar has accused her former Prime Ministers of compromising India's deep assets. Without taking any names, though, he claimed such assets on national security have been compromised by earlier regimes. His remarks drew strong reactions from the Congress. The party has demanded an apology from Parrikar if he doesn't reveal the name of the Prime Ministers he meant.
Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar has alleged that some former Prime Ministers had compromised the country's deep assets on national security. However, he did not take any names. Speaking at a function, Parrikar said he cannot give details about Coast Guard operation against a Pakistani boat on New Year's Eve, fearing that the source might be compromised. He also slammed demands by opposition parties to provide proof about suspected militants on board of the Pakistani boat, as was claimed by the centre.
200 किलोमीटर दूर पर आम्ही इंटरसेप्ट केलं 24 तास एक बोट एका जागेवर ते इज इट नॉट इनफ प्रूफ तुम्हाला काय आम्ही इंटरसेप्ट केलं नाही पाहिजे मला विचारलं मी म्हटलं नाही देणार देऊ शकत नाही कारण द सोर्स माइट बी कॉम्प्रोमाइज कारण शेवटी यू हॅव टू बिल्ड एसेट्स and you have to build deep assets. Deep assets are assets which has to be created over 20 years, 30 years. दुर्दैवाने इथं या देशात असे प्रधानमंत्री होऊन गेले की जे डीप असेट सुद्धा कॉम्प्रोमाइज केले. मी नाव घेत नाही.
But his remarks drew sharp criticism from Congress. The party has dared Parrikar to reveal names or be ready to apologize.
The defence minister should come out with the facts. If he has evidence that any former prime minister has compromised our deep assets or compromised national security, he should come out with the evidence, or he should take his statement back and publicly apologize.
When a defence minister of the country says that deep assets have been compromised, it means either strategic assets of the armed forces were compromised or the intelligence assets were compromised by a prime minister. We call upon the defence minister to place all these facts with evidence in public realm so that people of India know what he is saying.
Opposition parties, including Congress, had questioned the Coast Guard operation and demanded evidence that the vessel that exploded with 4 men on it was carrying suspected terrorists. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And 2 people were killed in a crude bomb blast in Bihar's Ara civil court premises. 16 people were injured. The dead victims include a police constable and a woman who reportedly carried the bomb in her purse. The explosion happened when a van with some under trial reached the court premises. 2 under trials escaped in the commotion. Security was intensified at Patna after the explosion. The incident came just before BJP President Amit Shah was slated to attend 2 programs in the city.
हरा में सिविल कोर्ट में बम ब्लास्ट हुआ है. एक महिला बम लेकर के जा रही थी, उसने ब्लास्ट किया जिसमें महिला खुद भी मारी गई और एक पुलिस का जवान भी मारा गया. आधा दर्जन से अधिक लोग घायल भी हुए हैं. उनका इलाज कराया जा रहा है. पूरे कैंपस को सील कर दिया गया है.
Should either govern the state properly and provide effective administration, or must quit from the office, must quit the government immediately to allow a new government to take office.
आतंकवादी घटना नहीं प्रतीत होता है. जो एसपी से हमारी बातचीत हुई और बातचीत हो ही रही है लगातार, तो उन लोग का असेसमेंट यह है कि आतंकवादी घटना, हम लोग का असेसमेंट यह है कि आतंकवादी घटना नहीं है. ये घटना प्रमा फेसी ये लगता है कि कैदी को भगाने के लिए किया गया.
Well, time now to take a look at some of the other stories we've been tracking from across the country and nationwide. Extending their record-setting spree for the 4th day today, the Sensex closed above the 29,000 mark for the first time. For the second time rather, Sensex rallied as much as 402 points in trade to hit a fresh lifetime high of 29,408. Nifty also touched another peak of 8,744. The markets have seen a surge for a week now with an all-time high in early trade and was breached yesterday as well. 18 fresh cases of swine flu were reported in Delhi, taking the total number of cases to 179 in the national capital. The health department, however, said that there was no cause for alarm and the seasonal infection will disappear once the warmer days set in. In Rajasthan, 2 more persons succumbed to the disease, taking the toll of deaths to 15 this year. Tamil Nadu unit of Congress has issued a show-cause notice to former Union Minister P. Chidambaram's son Karthi Chidambaram for his remarks against veteran leader Kamraj. The party said that Karthi's remarks were unacceptable and asked him to explain his conduct, criticizing the veteran leader. Over a month after ban, Uber cabs have resumed its service in Delhi. Uber's app started working after the company agreed to apply for a radio taxi license. Uber said that it would introduce additional safety measures, including more stringent driver checks, an in-app emergency button, and a dedicated incident response team. The cab service was banned after a woman was raped by one of the cab drivers last year. We'll slip in a very quick break right now, but lots more coming up on the other side, so stay tuned. Welcome back here with the news at 6. Some international news now. Saudi Arabia's King Abdullah, who was known as a ruler committed to reforms, died on Friday. Abdullah's half-brother, Crown Prince Salman, pledged to continue his predecessor's policies after ascending to the throne. However, there are challenges ahead for the country at a time when there is alarm over the rise of the Islamic State in the region and also turmoil in neighbouring Yemen.
Saudi King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz breathed his last in a hospital in Riyadh weeks after he was admitted. Abdullah, who became king in 2006, was suffering from a lung infection. His 79-year-old half-brother Salman ascended the throne. The new king vowed to maintain the same approach as his predecessor and named half-brother Mukrin as his crown prince and heir.
We are monitoring them anywhere that we can possibly do that.
Now that you know that Yemen is still unstable.
In fact, I'll tell you, they are everywhere, and they're held by some close friends.
US President Barack Obama joined world leaders in hailing the late monarch's contributions to peace in the Middle East. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to Twitter to express his condolences. In a series of tweets, Modi said that he was saddened by the passing away of King Abdullah, who had left a lasting impact on his country.
中方对阿卜杜拉国王的不幸逝世深表哀悼，向沙特政府和人民表示诚挚的慰问。阿卜杜拉国王呢是沙特杰出的领导人，生前一直致力于促进沙特国家的发展，维护中东海湾地区的和平与稳定，在沙特内外、国内外都享有很高的威望。
He was an experienced leader and a wise king. And he has had the courage in a very demanding period of time to stand up and to introduce a peace process for the Middle East.
His role in establishing peace between and putting an end to the Arab-Israeli conflict and the Palestinian-Israeli feud was instrumental. You will recall the Arab Initiative of 2002. I believe that the relations between Saudi Arabia and Egypt in particular will continue to be one of the cornerstones of the regional situation in the Middle East.
Despite the announcement of Salman ascending the throne, there are troubling questions about the stability of an unreformed absolute monarchy, especially at a time of turmoil in the region, including the destabilizing crisis in Yemen. Another issue for the new king would be managing relations with the United States, a source of disappointment in Riyadh after Obama sought to negotiate a nuclear deal, and also a wider rapprochement with Iran. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, former Thai Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has been banned from politics for 5 years. She also faces criminal charges for negligence that could put her in jail for 10 years. Thailand's military-appointed legislature today voted to successfully impeach. Yingluck was impeached by the National Legislative Assembly over a controversial rice subsidy scheme which cost billions of dollars and triggered protests that helped topple her government. However, Shinawatra was swift to denounce the move and vowed to fight the new corruption charges. The impeachment is seen by experts as an attempt to keep the powerful Shinawatra family.
จึงถือว่าสภานิติบัญญัติแห่งชาติมีมติให้ถอดถอนนางสาวยิ่งลักษณ์ชินวัตรนายกรัฐมนตรีออกจากตำแหน่งปรากฏตามเอกสารใบรวมคะแนนของคณะกรรมการ
News in the world of sports now, and from tennis, it was a major upset as second seed Roger Federer was knocked out of the Australian Open in the third round. In fact, Federer was shocked by Italian Andrea Sippi, 6-4, 7-6, 4-6, 7-6. It's the first time since 2003 that Federer has failed to reach the semis at the tournament. In a disappointing day for India, Sania Mirza and a Chinese Taipei partner went down 7-6, 6-4 against an unseeded Canadian Polish opponent. In the men's category, Leander Paes and his South African partner Raven Klaasen won the first set but lost the match 6-2, 4-6, 1-6 to the Italian pair of Fabio Fognini and Simone Bolelli. Rohan Bopanna also lost his double match in straight sets.
Mirza.
Well, that's it from us, but the news and updates continue right here on Rajya Sabha TV, so keep watching.